Hello to all of our Fireside Chats viewers. We hope you enjoy this episode. We pray that you be informed. One more time, welcome you to this episode. But before we get started, we want to ask that you hit the like button. Please comment all of your thoughts, all of your responses, all of your agreements and disagreements. Please share with family and friends. And most of all, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be the first to know when we post on Tuesdays. Let's get started.
Well, yeah, man, it may be a sensitive topic for some. It actually may not be, but what I want to ask about is there's some things about sex. Um, Even as a believer in my younger days, I've you know there's some things I have business doing, but for the most part, is that I want to ask this question: when a man sleeps with a woman, he has sex, he has fun. Are they considered married?
No,
Why not?
because that's not how God instituted marriage. Though it looks like that, it's not the actual way that He instituted marriage, or else there would be no such thing as fornication.
So how about with the thing as far as when you done slept with a woman and you hear these things about soul ties and intimacy ties and I've heard a lot of things as far as with people not preaching and proclaim that you that's when you were single and you not sleep with all these men and now you get married, these other men they are attached to you. Even that was explained on an actual major conference, even making reference to it with no more sheets. So I've actually been a part of this actual teaching where where she was expressing that how when you're not been intimate and then you come to your saved husband and now you want your husband to flip you this way, turn you that way, do this and do that, making some references that all those other men are still attached to you. So is that even possible?
The Bible speaks about joining yourself to a harlot, an idea when you're intimate with someone that you're yoking yourself up to them. But precisely to go along the lines of staying within the marriage thing, so we can get this clear, is when God instituted marriage, it was Adam, Eve, God.
Right.
So there's an authoritative representative that's actually there as far as what we would consider to be the I do's and what we would consider to be the consummation. So there's an authority figure that's actually there as far as an accountability type thing. Even in the Bible, the same thing repeats itself. You have the first process in Jewish customs and a lot of customs for that matter during that time, where first thing you do is what they call to be betrothed, which is what Joseph and Mary was. And betrothed is basically this: you come together in front of the whole community and you recite these type of vows.
Right.
Okay, after you recite those vows, you are now seen as married.
Right.
Now, the second part would be the consummation part, or the being intimate part, which would happen a year later after the man went, build the house, build onto the family house, and then after a year is up, what would actually happen is the bride and the bridesmaids would be waiting outside from the time that the sun came up, waiting for the actual bridegroom to come, which Christ makes reference to when he talks about the 10 virgins waiting for the bridegroom to come, and he could be coming at any time and point, so they had to stay on point. For her not to be ready would be a disrespect to the actual bridegroom and to the father. The father determined the time that the bride, not the bridegroom, but the actual husband was going to be coming. He determined that time. He would show up, grab her, the rest of her groomsmen, and they would go on to the festival, and this would be where the consummation would happen at. But no, you're not married to somebody the moment that you are intimate with them. You just create an illegal tie to that person, or you make yourself one with that person unofficially. So therefore it comes all those different consequences that we deal with during our marriage. He's not doing it the way so and so did it. She don't do it the way so and so did it, and that's what causes those issues, because we grab this mindset that, oh, we having sex, we common law, and God didn't create a common law for marriage. You either married or you ain't. That's the law.
It's just law. Hey man, I had no problem asking that question, because I know inside my past that I've even used that to lie to some girls so I can have sex with them, not even marry them. Like, hey, we won, So, so that's why. Listen, I don't mind, being that transparent. So, that's something that I wanted to ask about. As even far as the soul ties, like as far as the mental aspect of that, they're making some type of reference that like we're still a part of it.
Well, okay. I want to touch this lightly. I don't want to get too far into it.
Right.
Whenever you're intimate with somebody, there is an exchange of blood that actually takes place. This blood is designed to strengthen the union as well as create the union. A blood covenant is the strongest covenant in the world. You can look at Christ, you can look at people being circumcised in the Bible. Blood is taking place even with circumcision. Christ's blood, the power of that blood, the idea of how God actually looks at blood, whether you're talking about how he tells you not to eat anything with the blood in it because it's the life of it, and you start talking about blood, that's the strongest covenant. So when you're being intimate with somebody, there's an exchange of blood actually happening during that process, which is creating a blood tie. And blood goes beyond just a physical thing, it's an actual spiritual thing. So you're creating this tie with this person through blood, or this covenant with this person through blood, but it's an illegal covenant that you're actually creating with them. So now you're going to get adverse effects. To bring it more clear, the reason for that being is if these people are going to be made one, then that means that they're going to have to be brought to a certain mindset. When you're dealing with a man and his seed, that is actually all that man. That is supposed to help that woman to learn how to adjust to the way of the thinking that that man actually has. It codes her DNA. Scientists, phlebotomists, all these different people that study blood can tell you that that actual climax is what helps to code her DNA. It's what helps her to adjust to that man. It's what's helping her to become one with him, not only through the idea of spirit, but even in thought. So if you're doing this and it's not under the rule of an authoritative figure, God being the initial one, or somebody who's been recognized by the authorities or the governments that's actually in the earth, then that's an awful representation, and now you have trouble. So it's just basically understanding that you're entering into a blood covenant with somebody, and when you're dealing with blood covenants, there's just so many different things that come into play with blood covenants.
Right. And I understand that. I think that was a great explanation. Something else is that you said is that, is just that I just noticed while you were talking is that even from people who I've talked to, I've never heard of a man saying he having a soul tie. It's always the female. Is that because they are the I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this, but because they receive or the recipients or the actual they take in and don't give out as far as what we're talking about as far as that blood? Is that could that be the reason that those quote unquote soul ties happen or am I going too far off?
No, men deal with it, just not to the degree that the woman is actually dealing with it. Said you join yourself to a harlot. So what she does next with what you deposited in her is going to affect your life also, because now we're dealing with black covenants and it just gets into a spiritual aspect. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't really want to touch this subject too hard, but it goes way beyond just the idea of the female in and of itself. You imagine us that your seed being affected by another man's seed through sleeping with that woman. It just gets really disgusting if I get into explaining. That's what I'm saying. Like, oh, we don't really need to go too far into this, man, because it's like this, man. A woman, God always talked about mixing seed. In the Old Testament, God talks a lot about when you're planting seed, make sure not to mix seed. And oftentimes we just associate that dealing with plants, not realizing that no, men produce seed also. So when he's talking about the mixing and mangling of seed, he's talking about any seed across the board. Okay, a woman is looked at as this fertile ground because fruit is going to come from out of this woman, being those children. God even calls it the fruit of the womb, are those children being her fruit. So if you plant seed inside of this ground, being this woman, and then this ground goes off to somebody else to plant seed there, that's a mixing and mangling of seed. As a matter of fact, that woman becomes as that man when they sleep together. So that woman is one with that man, she becomes as that man. So she goes and sleeps with another man, and now that woman is becoming as that man. Or is it really a man sleeping with a man?
Well, till next time, please like, share, comment, even if you agree or even if you disagree. God bless. Good night.